أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين ولا عقبة للمتقين ولا عدوان إلا على الظالمين وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم عبد الله ورسوله أما بعد. We thank the Almighty Allah for giving us an opportunity to be here. We thank Him for His mercies that He's bestowed upon us. We bear witness that there is no deity worthy of worship except the Almighty Allah. Also bear witness that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is His servant and His messenger. Whosoever the Almighty Allah guides is really guided, and anybody who goes astray has nobody to blame but themselves. Alhamdulillah, today is the third day of Muharram, 1445 years after the hijrah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which means technically we are in a new Islamic year. That's what it means. And Alhamdulillah, this month of Muharram is also one of the 4 sacred months that we have, in the Islamic calendar. And the other 3 are Dhul Qa'dah and Dhul Hijjah, and then Rajab. Rajab is 2 months before the month of Ramadan, and then Dhul Qa'dah and Dhul Hijjah are the last 2 months that we had. And this month, there is a special occasion in the month by the name of Ashura, which is next Friday. And it is a day of fasting, as the hadith of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, rightly explained to us. And the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to fast in the month of Ashura before he even migrated to Medina. And when he got to Medina, he also realized that the Yahud in Medina were also fasting the day of Ashura. And then he asked them, why are they fasting? And they said it is a good day for them because that was the day that the Almighty Allah gave victory to Musa over Fir'aun. So they are fasting to thank the Almighty Allah about it. Now after some time, the Sahaba asked the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Ya Rasulullah, you've always told us to differentiate ourselves from the Yahud, but here is the case, they fast on the day, you also fast on the same day. And the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam told them that next year, God willing, I'm going to fast on the 9th and then on the 10th. But then the Almighty Allah did not will for His Prophet to see the following year because he passed away, he died before that. So it became part of the sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam that we fast on the 9th and then the 10th, or we fast on the 10th and then the 11th. Now here is the case that the day is now on a Friday, and the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam prohibited us from fasting on a Friday and fasting on only a Saturday and fasting only on Sunday. So what's the case now? What we're going to do now is we fast a day before Friday or a day after Friday. So you fast Thursday and Friday, or Friday and Saturday. And you might see, in the coming days on the media, on the news, especially places in the Middle East, you find some people cutting themselves with knives and beating themselves and crying, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Wa Hussein, Ya Hussein. It happens especially in these days. And these are the Shia or the Rawafid. They take this day as a day of mourning because that is the day that Hussein, the grandson of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, was murdered. He was assassinated on the 10th of Muharram, I think in the 60th Hijrah, 60 years of Hijrah or 61 year Hijrah. And they take this day as a day of mourning. So you find them, cutting themselves, weeping, slapping themselves, tearing their clothes, crying, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein. And that on that day that Hussein was murdered, Hussein called for help, but nobody went to help him. So they are punishing themselves for not, responding to the call of Hussein. But the most surprising thing is that Hussein was killed more than 1,000 years ago. I don't think when he called, we were there for us to be able to even answer that. So this is the position of Shia on that. And some of them will tell you that, no, this is the extremist Shia. They are the ones who do that. But in reality, it is something that is found in the major books of Shiism, that this is the way to go. And they believe that it is better to mourn on this day than to fast on this day. But as Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, our position is very clear that this is the day of fasting. But that doesn't mean that the murder of Hussein is not of concern to us. Yes, we all agree that Hussein was murdered. He was killed unjustly. Yes, that's a fact. But then that doesn't turn it into a commemorative event where every year we'll have to wear black, crying, and then some even go to the extent of cutting themselves and beating themselves, and it's a whole thing that it's very sad that it's happening like that. And the other side of it is that we have another group called An-Nawasib, and these An-Nawasib, they do exact opposite of what the Shia do. They take this day as a day of merrymaking, as a day of eating and happiness. They did that in opposing the position that the Shia have taken as a day of mourning. They say, okay, if you are mourning, we are celebrating. And Nawasib historically have been people who have been, at loggerheads with members of the family of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So just to give us a brief history about what happened on the day that Hussein was killed, we can go back a few years, and then we'll just take some few minutes to explain so that you have a brief understanding of what happened. And it is not something that normally we try to speak about it and then carry it around to the market, because it's very bloody, and then it's not something that as Muslims we are really proud of. So it's not something that we Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah per se, carry around. But for the Shia, it is like that is their trade. That is their trade. That's where they make their name for. So when Umar was assassinated, Umar ibn Khattab himself was killed, and all these guys, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam told them exactly what is going to happen to them. He told them. He told all of them, Abu Bakr, you're going to die on your bed. Umar, you're going to be stabbed. Uthman, you're going to be slaughtered. Ali, you're going to be slaughtered. It happened to all of them. And Ali bin Abi Talib, for example, sometimes they go to war, he's cut, he's stabbed, and the companions are like, no, Ali is going to die. He tells them, I'm not going to die from this wound, because my beloved, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, told me that my death is going to come from a knife that is going to come from here to here. So if I don't, the moment you see a knife coming from my here to my here, meaning from my neck to the other side of the neck, that means I'm going to die. That's how the Prophet explained to him vividly that he was going to be killed. Uthman bin Affan too, the Prophet ﷺ told him he was going to kill. So Umar bin Khattab, during his time, the Islam spread to places like Iraq and Iran, and to present day Palestine, Jerusalem. It was during the time of Umar bin Khattab that Islam dominated those places. So the rule was that if you are captured in war, you are turned into a slave. That's the rule in Islam. So in Islam, we don't go to villages stealing people and turning them to slaves. No. When we go to war, and then you are on the battlefield fighting us, and then we defeat you and then we capture you, you become a slave. But then the people who stay home, who do not take part in the wars, they are not turned into slaves. They are given an option, which is they either become Muslims, that's one, or they remain on their deen, but then they pay taxes. So that is why you have in the history of Islam, you have Christians and Jews living within the Islamic State. So during the time of Umar bin Khattab, you have Jews in Medina. Even during the time of Prophet ﷺ, Jews were in Medina. During the time of Umar, Jews were in Medina, but then they remained as Jews, but then they were paying the taxes. And historically, the Muslim empire, when it grew at its biggest, the side of the Muslim empire at its biggest was from Portugal in Europe to the mountains of Mongolia in Asia. From Siberia in the north to the Indian Ocean in the south. That's how big the Muslim empire was. And 60% of the population were, guess who? Christians. It is the Muslims who were just about, some said 5, 10, 15% of the population were Muslims. Because there were Hindus in there, there were Buddhists in there were all these other groups in there. But then The Muslims are the one who were dominating, who were the leaders. And this is also a point to prove that Islam was not spread by the sword. Because if that was the case, the Muslims would have annihilated everybody, destroyed, crushed everybody. But no, that didn't happen. So Umar ibn Khattab, one of the people who were caught in war, Abu Lu'lu al-Majusi, was brought to Medina as a slave. And then he was given to this man by name, one of the companions, Mughira ibn Shu'bah. And this guy was working for Mughira ibn Shu'bah, and then he felt that he was being overworked. So one day he came to report his master to Umar ibn Khattab. A slave coming to report his master. You can see this is the justice system of Islam. So he came and then reported and said his master is giving him a lot of tough time. The job is very difficult. And Umar ibn Khattab asked him, what do you do? And this he asked, and then Umar said, okay, no problem. I'll call your master and I'll speak to him. He was expecting Umar to talk to his master in front of him and give and turn and speak to him. But Umar said no. So when he didn't get what he wanted, he went and then he created a knife with 2 edges, 2 points. And then he smeared poison on the tip of the knife for 1 month. Every morning he will smear poison. Every morning he will smear poison. And then one day, on a Friday at dawn, Fajr, during that time they didn't have electricity, so there was no lights. And then the Arabs at that time, they wear their turbans, and then, everybody was covering his face to come to the masjid. It was the dressing. So, and then we are in a community of Muslims. We didn't expect a non-Muslim to come into the masjid, to infiltrate our ranks. The Medina is the city of the Muslims. Even recently in New Jersey, someone went to a masjid and then Paris in New Jersey, I think, and then he stabbed an imam. So this guy came into the masjid and then he was there. Allahu Akbar. Everybody was joining Salah. I think Umar went for the first rakah. He came for the second rakah when everybody, in the second rakah, all of us are already immersed in the Salah. So there's deep concentration. So when Umar, all the kuya was, he's killing me, he's killing me. He took out the knife and then he stabbed Umar in the abdomen 4 different times with 2 points of the knife, so it means 8 different. And then when he stabs him too, he twists the knife inside so that he could just spill Umar's intestines. So when the guys heard Umar is saying, he's killing me, he's killing me, he's killing me, and then, they pounced on this guy to get a hold of him. He stabbed 9 other different people on his way running out of the masjid. So they had to look for a big blanket to put it on top of him, and then he stabbed himself and then he killed himself. So Umar, after being stabbed, before he fell, he pushed Abdurrahman ibn Auf as the imam to continue the salah, and then he was taken home. So he went into coma, and then when he was resuscitated, came back, the first thing he asked them was, have the people prayed? Did they pray? Did they finish salah? He said, yes, they finished salah. I said, okay. Who stabbed me? They said, Ghulam Mughira ibn Shu'bah. Mughira ibn Shu'bah's boy. He said, Alhamdulillah, that the person who killed me is not a Muslim. He's never prayed any sujood to the Almighty Allah. So when Umar was on deathbed, he instituted 6 people to form a committee to select the new Khalifa after him. So after him, they selected Uthman. Uthman is, is a soft guy, very, very shy person, very easygoing guy. And the Islamic Empire had grown very big, so everybody was in there. So Uthman was trying to, blend everybody, deal with people in a way to make them, comfortable. Then a fitna crept up. Some of the people were infested by an ideology by a man called Abdullah ibn Sabah, who was a Jew who had accepted Islam. So he brought up this idea that Uthman doesn't deserve to be Khalifa, and that they must do all they can to take Uthman off the seat. And Uthman too, the Prophet had told him that one day the Almighty Allah is going to put on you a cloak. If the munafiqeen want you to take it off, don't take it off. So all these things that were happening, the Prophet ﷺ already predicted, he had told them. So these people came in a group of 6,000 people to Medina. And then they timed at the time of Hajj, when majority of the people have gone to Mecca for Hajj. So the number of people in Medina had gone down. So they came into Medina, in the outskirts of Medina, and they camped, and then Uthman sent someone to go and investigate, and then he got hint that yes, these people came with two things, either to kill Uthman or for him to abdicate the throne and then leave the position. So and they had their accusations against Uthman. They said, number one, Uthman was doing a family and friends government. He's putting only his family and then his friends into government. Number two, Uthman was embezzling funds. Number three, Uthman was not doing things the way the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and Abu Bakr and Umar did. So because of these reasons, they want him to be out. So Uthman called them into the city, and then they sat down, and then he asked them, what are your allegations? They said, number one, you are doing family and friends government. And Uthman bin Affan told them that, no, you know very well that the only family member I have only one family member in my government. And even him, when his work he didn't do the work well, did I leave him or I took him off? They said, we took him off. So what's this, propaganda? Because you understand one thing, that when people are after you, they create stories around you, and there are gullible people who will believe in those stories. So he told them, are you satisfied with this first? They say, yes, we are satisfied with this first one. Okay, secondly, you are embezzling funds. He said, you know very well that in the history of the Arabs, no one is wealthier than I am. And I have used all my money in fi sabilillah. I now have only 2 camels. The first camel, I go to jihad fi sabilillah with it. The second camel, I go to Hajj with it. I only have a few clothes that I wear. At that time, he was almost 80-something years. So what do I need money for? Are you okay with that? They said, we are okay. Okay, the third one, you are doing things not the way of the Prophet Muhammad. He said, what is that? They said, the Prophet and Abu Bakr and Umar, when they go for Hajj, in Mina, they pray Zuhur 2 and they pray Asr 2. But you, when you go, you pray Zuhur 4, you pray Asr 4. Why? You see, these nonsense questions. And then he told them that the reason why I pray 4 instead of 2 is that 1 year, when I started my Khilafah, I always pray 2. They said, yes. Why did you change? He said, 1 year at Hajj, 2 men came to me from their village, that this man, the previous year, he came to Hajj, and then he saw me, Uthman, Khalifa, pray Zuhur 2, Asr 2. Since the day he went back to his village, he always prays Zuhur 2, Asr 2. Because Amir al-Mu'minin, that's how he prays Zuhur 2, Asr 2. This is the companion of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He's the leader of the Muslims. Why will I pray 4? You people are on the wrong path. I saw Uthman bin Affan praying 2. So Uthman said, because of those kind of people, for them not to think that Zuhur and Asr is 2, he prays 4. So that they all see that it is 4. That is one. Number 2, he still has a family in Mecca. So he is not a visitor in Mecca for him to shorten his prayer. That is why he prays 4. It's okay, no problem. We understand. Are you okay? They said, we are okay. They all left. 6,000 people. Then in a couple of days, they all came back. Again. Because a fake letter was written in the name of Uthman, because the people came from different places. Some of them came from Egypt, some of them came from Iraq, some of them came from Syria. So fake letters were written to the governors of those places that Uthman said when those people go back, you should kill them. So they came back. They held Uthman house arrest for 9 days. On the 9th day, they broke his door, and then they slaughtered him. They slaughtered him the way we slaughter sheep. And these people were Muslims. That is why I said some part of our history is not palatable. These people were Muslims, and they slaughtered Uthman bin Affan. His wife, Naila bint al-Farafisa, when they were going to cut his neck, she put her hand to protect him. They cut off her fingers. And before even cutting his head, cutting his neck, they stabbed him different times. The guy who stabbed him, Al-Ghafiqiyu said he stabbed Uthman 9 different times. 3 times because of Allah. You kill Uthman because of Allah. So that's why some of our stories, our history. So after they killed Uthman, they spread. They went their way. But before that, Muawiyah, his cousin, who was one of the secretaries of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and who was a governor in Syria, told him that, Uthman, I'm going to send soldiers to protect you. He said, no, you're going to bring your soldiers into Medina and then make the streets of Medina very difficult for the people to pass. No. He said, okay, Uthman, leave Medina and come to me. He said, no, I can't leave Medina. This is where the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is. Why would I leave Medina? I'm not going to leave Medina. He said, okay, no problem. And the night before he was killed, he dreamt, and then he saw the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Prophet told him, Uthman, come and break your fast with me. So that morning, he was fasting. Because he saw the Prophet, he knew this is the day he was going to die. The Prophet told him, come and break your fast with me. So he just woke up in the morning with his fast. And then when they came in to kill him, he was reading his Quran. We said, do not. It was that Quran that was with him. He was reading it. And I think Aisha radiallahu anha said, after the death of Usman, when they went into their house, the Quran, when they picked it to open, where his blood touched in the Quran is فَسَيَكْفِيكَهُمُ اللَّهُ. Verily, the Almighty Allah is enough for you against them. That is where his blood was on top of that. So Uthman was assassinated, he was killed. The community unanimously agreed that Ali ibn Abi Talib was going to be the Khalifa. But then again, Muawiyah, the guy who said he's going to send soldiers to Uthman, he said Ali should give him permission to look for the killers of Uthman, because Uthman is his cousin. If Ali cannot find the killers of Uthman and kill them, Ali should give him permission to look for the killers of Uthman, to fight them. And Ali said, no, wait, these people, we need to do serious investigation to be able to find them, to kill them, because it's not easy. It's a group of 6,000. Even today, in Philadelphia, if a group of 6,000 people are looking for you to kill you, it's not easy. So how much more that time? So it became an issue between it became an issue between Ali and Muawiyah, and they even had to go to war for that. It was in that war that Talha, one of the 10 people who were granted Jannah, and Zubair were all killed in that war. War between the Sahaba. It's not something that we like to say. So after those wars, even within the group of Ali, some of them split away, and then they are called the Khawarij. They said Ali is a kafir, Muawiyah is a kafir, we need to kill them. So Ali moved the capital from Medina, because the wives of the Prophet Muhammad were there, the older Sahaba were there. So if it is still the capital, it's going to be issues. So he moved the capital from there to Kufa, in present-day Iraq. Kufa. He took the capital there. And then his same group of people who split from him, they sent someone called Abdurrahman ibn al-Muljim, a Muslim, to kill Ali bin Abi Talib. So he went and then he found Ali 17th day of Ramadan on a Friday, Fajr, and then he cut his throat from here to here, killed him. So after Ali was killed, the community agreed to make his son Hassan the leader. After 6 months, Hassan said he is tired of all the headaches. He is tired, so he called his uncle Muawiyah. He said, Muawiyah, take it. I don't like it. And this thing that Hassan did, the Prophet Muhammad predicted it. Because one day, the Prophet was on the mimbar giving khutbah, and Hassan came into the masjid and he tripped and then he fell. And the Prophet descended from the mimbar and then he held him, and then he said, this my son is a leader, and then he's going to be the solution for the problems that Muslims are going to face for some time. And then the day that Hassan said, Muawiyah, take it, all the problems in the community were solved, because Muawiyah was very powerful. All the rebels and all the dissidents, he crushed everybody, and then the Ummah reunited once again. Muawiyah, when he was about to die, he put his son on it. So Muawiyah was the one who made Islamic leadership by hereditary. When you die, your son takes over. When you die, your son, it is Muawiyah who started it. So he put his son on it, and a lot of the Sahaba didn't agree. But then, in Islam, we have something that is, we don't rebel against a leader. We don't come out publicly against a leader to fight the leader or to take the leader out, because if you do that, a lot of people are going to die. A lot of innocent people are going to be killed. We've seen that in Libya. We've seen that in Iraq. We've seen that in Afghanistan, the moment you want to take out a leader, a lot of innocent people are going to die. I believe today, the Libyan people, they will still wish that Gaddafi was still there. They will still wish that he was still there. Iraqis will still wish Saddam Hussein was still there. All these, even Egyptians, they will still wish that Hosni Mubarak was still there. Because even though these people might be called tyrants, you might call them tyrants, but then at least the people were going about their day-to-day activities in peace. But now today, every morning it is bullet, brrr, is bomb, boom, killings. So Islam doesn't buy the idea of coup d'etats or revolutions taking out leaders. Islam doesn't buy that idea at all. So then the same people who supported Ali but they couldn't protect him and then he was killed, they wrote 500 different letters to Hussein. Because Hassan said, I don't need the thing. They realized that no, let's go to Hussein. So they wrote letters to Hussein, that Hussein, we need you to come and be our leader. Yazid is a very bad leader. So and so and so and so. And at first he didn't want to go. But the letters came in. Imagine today you have 500 WhatsApp messages that we need you in Harrisburg. You will go. How much more those times that it is horses that will carry? So 500 different letters came. And then the Sahaba which he grew up with, who are now become older men like the sons of Umar, the sons of Abu Bakr, they told him, no, don't go. These people couldn't protect your father. You are better off with us. We are together. We were born all together here. We grew up together. So don't go. He said, no, I need to go. So Abdullah ibn Umar, the son of Umar, was embracing him on the farewell. When he embraced him, he said, I think this is the last time we'll be seeing each other. You're not going to be alive. They told him. But before he left, he sent his cousin, Muhammad ibn Aqil. And Aqil is a brother to Sayyidina Ali. And Hussein is a son of Ali. So he sent his cousin, Muhammad ibn Aqil, to go and verify the information. When he got there in Kufa, 12,000 people had gathered to support Hussein for him to come. So okay, no problem. Then the governor of that city realized that there is someone new in the city who is, forming a new political party. Let's say something like that. Then when he got news of that, he came and then he arrested this guy, Muhammad ibn Aqil. And then he took him to, let's say, the governor's, residence or office or something like that to imprison him. Then these 12,000 people, all of them came out in protest. After some time, 3 or 4 people will move, 5 people, 20. By the time they realized, half of the people were gone. By the time they realized, everybody was gone. Nobody was left to support. Because they have been warned and then they are afraid and then they are not powerful. Then Muhammad wrote to Hussein that, don't come. The people have betrayed you. By the time the letter reaches Hussein, he had already moved. So he didn't get that letter. So he moved with about 72 of his family members, his wives, his kids, his grandchild, his other brothers from the same father. And some of them, Ali had named them. He had Muhammad in there, he had Abu Bakr, he had Umar, he had Uthman. All of them were there. And then on the way, the governor of the city sent people to go and meet him, Hussein, and tell him that the people that you said they are coming to support, they are going to support you, we've crushed them. So go back. So they had a meeting, and Hussein agreed to go back. But then again, they wanted to disrespect him. Those people. They said, okay, fine, what we're going to do is, instead of you going back to Medina, we are going to take you into chains to Yazid. He said, no, that is not also going to happen. At the moment, he was leading them in Salah. In the next moment, they were fighting him. So they fought a war. They killed him. They cut off his head. And then they used their horses to kick his head and used the horses to run on the body. They did something very, very heinous. And this is the day that incident happened. 10th of Muharram, in the year 60 or 61 Hijrah, that it happened. And the sad event is that the rest of the families were also assassinated and murdered. I think it is said that only a few of them survived, the women and some small babies. And then one of the sons, Zain al-Abidin, was alive, small baby at that time, maybe a few weeks old. And that's it. So the Shia, in their allegiance to Hussein, saw that, and then they turned the day as a day of what? As a day of mourning, a day of crying, a day of cutting, themselves and bleeding and stuff like that. So you can see on the social media, on the international scene, some of these videos, especially in Iran and Iraq, where Shia, are predominant. You see them cutting themselves. In other parts of the world, they go on street marches, holding flags, saying, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, and stuff like that. But for us, Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah, it is not the way to go. We don't agree with that, because if we have to mourn for someone, we have to mourn the day the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam died. After that, we come and mourn Abu Bakr. After that, we mourn Umar, we mourn Uthman, and then we mourn Ali. But the Shia, it's not a day for us to speak about the Aqidah of the Shia, but just to speak about what has happened, during, that day. And I believe it is an opportunity for us, to speak about it. We are supposed to speak about, today's lesson is what you cannot do when you don't have wudu. This is our lesson for today. What is not permissible without wudu. So the first one is لا يحل لغير المتوضئ صلاة ولا طواف ولا مس نسخة القرآن العظيم ولا جلدها لا بيده ولا بعود ونحوه إلا الجزء منه المتعلم فيه. He said it is not permissible for the person who doesn't have wudu to perform salah. We all know this. Number two, wala tawafun, not tawaf. You don't do tawaf, because of a hadith of Aisha where she went to Hajj with the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and before the rites of the Hajj, her monthly visitor came in, and the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam saw her crying. He said, Aisha, why are you crying? She said, Ya Rasulullah, my monthly visitor is in, and then we are in for Hajj. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, do everything that the Hajj person will do, except that you're not going to do salah, you're not going to do tawaf. So no tawaf. وَلَا مَسُّ نُسْخَةِ الْقُرْآنِ, and do not touch a copy of the Quran. This is a place where there is a little bit, back and forth between scholars as to whether the person who doesn't have wudu can touch the Quran or not. So it's a difference of opinion between the sects, the madhahib, the schools of thought, and Imam Malik and I think Imam Shafi'i are of the opinion that no. The rest are of the opinion that yes, even without wudu, you can touch the Quran, because they all use the same verse to substantiate their position. That verse is وَلَا لَا يَمَسُّهُ إِلَّا الْمُطَّهَّرُونَ. None touches it except what? The clean ones. Now, the issue here is, who are the clean ones? Is it malaika or it is us? None touches it. The it here, is it the Quran or is it Lawhil Mahfuz? Those who take the interpretation that the it here is Lawhil Mahfuz, and the clean ones here are the malaika, they say that yes, you can touch the Quran without wudu. But those who say no, the it here refers to the Quran, and then the clean ones here are the ones who have wudu, then it means that it is the Quran, you cannot touch it. So this is a back and forth between the scholars. I don't want to state my position here on this one because it will be unfair discretion. But the best thing is have wudu before you touch the Quran, unless there are circumstances whereby maybe the Quran is placed at a position whereby it's not conducive, it might come to be harm or something like that. You put it in a nice place, or maybe you are hafidh of the Quran, and then your monthly visitor sets, and then you must do your muraja. You can use the Quran to do muraja. And some of the scholars, contemporary scholars, say so long as now that we have those Quran that are in juzu, single ones, we can take one of them, and then for that one there is no issue. The only issue was that if it is the whole Quran, the full one. He said, وَلَا مَسُّ لَوْحِ الْقُرْآنِ الْعَظِيمِ. Even if there is a slate or a board, like the boards that we have, and then there's Quran on it, you cannot touch it without wudu. إِلَّا لِمُتَعَلِّمٍ فِيهِ, except if someone is a student and then he's learning, أَوْ مُعَلِّمٌ يُصَحِّهُ, or it is a teacher who has written something on a slate, the slate that we have back home in Africa for writing, on the wooden slate. So if the scholar is going to correct something for you there, or is going to write a new verse for you, no problem. And then they say, وَالصَّبِيُّ فِي مَسِّ الْقُرْآنِ كَالْكَبِيرِ. A small boy touching the Quran is like an elder person. وَالْإِثْمُ عَلَى مُنَابِلِهِ لَا. But then the fault is on the one who gave the Quran to the small boy. The small boy doesn't have any what? Doesn't have any sin. وَمَنْ صَلَّى بِغَيْرِ وُضُوءٍ عَامِدًا. Anybody who prays without wudu intentionally, فَهُوَ كَافِرٌ. He's a kafir. وَلِيَعْذُ بِاللَّهِ. May the Almighty Allah safeguard us from that. So don't do salah without wudu intentional. If you forget, that's a different thing. So that is why if you are in salah and then your wudu is nullified, don't say, hey, people will think that this is what I have done. You don't care about people. You're not doing the salah because of people. You're not doing the ibadah because of people. You are doing it for the sake of the Almighty Allah. So when your wudu is nullified, you what? You get out of the salah, you go and perform your wudu, and then you come back, and then if they are still in the salah, you join them, and then afterwards you make up for the number of raka'ats that you've lost. So this is a very short class. Next week I won't be around because I'll be traveling, inshallah. Inshallah, I'll be traveling on that Friday. And inshallah, we'll look at it in 2 weeks' time, inshallah. So we look at the things that someone without wudu cannot do, which is salah, is very, very clear. Tawaf is very, very clear. Just that the touching of the Quran is just an issue between scholars, and then they had, all their debates back and forth. And I think there's also another issue. Yes, you can read the Quran even if you don't have wudu from memory. You can do dhikr even if you don't have wudu. So in your time whereby you have your monthly visitor, you can do your dhikr. You can do your subhanallah, alhamdulillah, wa la ilaha illallah akbar. You can wake up at night to do your tahajjud. And tahajjud doesn't necessarily mean that it must be what? It must be salah. It doesn't necessarily mean. Tahajjud can be reading of the Quran. It can be adhkar. Even you can even sit down and then be reflecting over the ni'mah of the Almighty Allah for you. It's all part of tahajjud. So you don't have to necessarily have what? Wudu for you to be able to do a tahajjud. I think basically that's it. I think we have about some 12 more minutes for salah. If you have any questions, we'll answer them. If not, inshallah. Now, that's your phone. It's not Quran. I hope you get it. That's a phone, not Quran.
That is one surah I'm so scared of it.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe my explanation of it is like, so I told my husband when I come here,
You ask.
I will ask.
Khairan.
It's Surah Al-Rahman.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's 33 or
Okay. Well, how do you explain that verse? How do you explain it? Let's see what it is first.
but I have the
33 or 34? 33. Ya ma'ashar al-jinni wal-ins. That's a scary verse. That verse is a very scary verse. The Almighty Allah says, Ya ma'ashar al-jinni wal-ins. This is on the day of Qiyamah. The Almighty Allah is going to call the human beings and the jinns. Oh, ya ma'ashar, oh you jinns and human beings. In istata'tum an tanfudhu min aqtari as-samawati wal-ard. If you can run away on the day of Qiyamah, the Almighty Allah is going to give us option. If you can escape, if you can vanish, if you can run away, fanfudhu. I've given you the opportunity. Escape. And here the Almighty Allah says, La tanfudhuna illa bisultan. Nobody is going to escape from here except that you have what? You have clear-cut evidence that you are going to enter Jannah. So it's a scary verse. It's very, very scary. And some of the scholars said, on the day of Qiyamah, we human beings will be gathered at one place. And then the jinns will come and surround us. Because the jinns are more in number than us. Then the angels of the first heaven will come and surround us and the jinn. And we and the jinns combined, the angels of the first heaven are more than us. And then the angels of the second heaven, they are also more than we and the jinns and the first heaven. Third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh. And we human beings, we are the smallest of all these creations. Jibril alayhi salatu wasalam has 600 feathers. 600. So on the day of Qiyamah, there's no escape. Maybe America here you can dodge, you can dodge the police, but on the day of Qiyamah, no dodge. And the Almighty Allah is proving that point. He's saying, Ya ma'ashar al-jinni wal-ins. Oh, you jinns and human beings. If you think that you can find your way out, go. The Almighty Allah is giving you the chance. When you turn and then you see a jinn with 5 heads and then fire coming out of his mouth and his nose, where are you going to go to?
What about the last part? The last part, they talk about like power.
The power there is not power. Sultan here doesn't mean power.
Okay.
It means proof, evidence. Okay. The only ones who can escape from that is the ones who have served the Almighty Allah and then they have received their good deeds in their right hands. That's the power. But the sultan, the word sultan means power. But in this verse, it doesn't mean power because nobody has any power on the day of Qiyamah except Allah. So it is someone who has evidence, who has, that he's worshipped the Almighty Allah and then he has the pass, the authority by Allah to go. Even if you do good things on the day of Qiyamah, it's the Almighty Allah who is going to agree. All these things that we are doing, if the Almighty Allah doesn't agree, why are you going to report Allah to who? So that is why the Prophet Muhammad said, "لَن يَنْجُوَ أَحَدُكُمْ بِعَمَلِهِ." None of us is going to be successful on the day of Qiyamah with only his good deeds. And the Sahaba were like, "Hatta anta ya Rasulullah." Even you, Rasulullah, he said, "Yes, hatta ana." إِلَّا أَن يَتَغَمَّدَنِي اللَّهُ بِرَحْمَتِهِ. Unless the Almighty Allah cloaks me with his rahmah. So it's only with the mercy and the grace of the Almighty Allah we're going to go to Jannah. But then for you to get that mercy, you need to work. So your salah alone will not take you to Jannah. Your hajj alone will not take you to Jannah. But that doesn't mean that don't do salah, don't do hajj. The salah and your hajj qualifies you to get what? The rahmah of the Almighty Allah. Without your salah and your zakat and your hajj, you are disqualified for the rahmah of the Almighty Allah. I hope the question is yes. Hey, young man.
So she said, what if you're sick and I got it?
If you lose your wudu without even knowing it, how do you know? You don't know it, so you've not lost your wudu. I hope you get the analogy. Because if you say you've lost your wudu without knowing it, technically you can't tell. Because if you don't know something, you don't know it. So until you are really sure that you've lost your wudu, the wudu is still valid. So for example, if you're sick, then you are given, the respite of what? Doing tayammum. Rubbing the walls of the room to perform tayammum with it. If you don't have anything that is going to help you to do the tayammum, it's okay, you pray like that.
Can you read it one more time, please?
If you do not have access to water because you are sick, you are given a chance to do tayammum. That's one. Number two, if you don't have access to the thing that you're going to use for tayammum, you pray like that. Okay? Because
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar,
Allahu Akbar.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.
Allahu Akbar.
أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله
أشهد أن محمد رسول الله.
حي على الصلاة
لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله.
حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر
الله أكبر.
لا إله إلا الله
لا إله إلا الله صلاة وصلاتك على محمد الصلاة. So for example, if you are sick and then you don't, for example, maybe a skin disease, if you're going to use water on your skin, it's going to exacerbate your situation, then you do tayammum. But then let's say someone is terminally ill, they are in bed, they can't go anywhere, they can't move, but then they are in a state of consciousness and they don't have anybody to bring them something for them to do wudu or something to them to do tayammum, and they cannot have access to that. They pray like that. Without the wudu, without the tayammum. They pray like that. Because it's very, very important for that.
So I have a question. So my daughter was she was in the emergency room last night, and she was very sick, like terminally,
Okay.
very very sick.
Now.
And you know, like when kids are sick, they get to be, you know, they want to be close to you.
Now.
And alhamdulillah, I'm not feeling so well, but when she was sick, I was having a hard time to do anything, even to go to the bathroom, anything, because she wanted to be close to me. So today when I wanted to pray duhur, she was so close to me and she was crying so much, I couldn't move, and she wanted to just lay. And when I just prayed the way I was, and then she fell asleep on my chest because it calms her down. But I didn't know what to do. That's why I was asking. Do I have to make that for that? Because I had not slept really good as well, but I did the best I could.
Oh no, situations and conditions might necessitate you from, from doing the salah the way it goes, the normal procedure, and there's nothing wrong with that, because that's the necessity that has come with it.
Yeah.
Inshallah. Allah alam, Allah knows best, inshallah. Any other question?
No, that was
Okay. Any other questions from here? Okay, jazakumullah khairan, inshallah. We'll meet you guys, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum. Barakallahu feekum.